Hi, and in this tutorial we're going to start looking at slightly more complicated animations and again putting different techniques together to create slightly more realistic movement. So what we've got here is still a very basic animation. You can see what I've got. I've got a car that drives along and the road moves beneath it to give the illusion further that the car is moving. So let's just have a little look at that and preview it. There you go. Not brilliant, but again it serves the purpose. It gives a vague impression that the car is driving along a road. Now it might be worth looking at how I've done that. You'll be familiar with the idea now of working with different layers for different objects, and this animation is made up of 4 different objects. It's made up of, first of all, the road. So have a look at that layer and the road layer. In fact, let's look at that. So all we can see, oops, is let's scroll down. So we've got the road here, and you can see that in my first frame I've actually moved the road off the side. It begins so that it's actually longer than the width of my frame, and then by the end I've moved it so it goes off the other side. So when I preview the animation and I run it, it gives the impression that it's scrolling on and then off again at the end, so it gives moving road. So if you want, you can actually create the illusion that something's moving by having it moving off the edge of your animation like that. So that's on one layer. My car, which is the chassis of the car there, the red bit, and I apologize again for my drawing, is one object, and all I've done is motion tween the car, so it starts there and end there, and that's just a car that I've drawn using the brush tool, and I've changed the thickness of the brush to allow me to put some little detail on top of the car like that. You'll notice, of course, that the wheels move at the same time, but I've done the wheels separately, and you're going to see shortly why I've done the wheels separately. I've got the front wheel and a back wheel, and again front wheel and back wheel, and they simply have been motion tweened so that they start there, end there, and they create the illusion of movement. Now if I run the animation again, apart from the quality of the drawing and the fact that I could perhaps add some other things, maybe like background, street, houses, a sun, some clouds, there is still something wrong, or it could be improved. I think the quality of this animation could be improved if the wheels appeared to turn as the car was driving. That would certainly make it look a little bit more realistic. So what I'm going to do is change my animation to allow that to happen. So I'm going to make a couple of small alterations to my animation, and then pause the video, make the alterations, and then show you what I've done, and then we're going to look at how we can make the wheels turn. Okay, hopefully you can see that I've made some changes to my drawing. If I run the animation now, it won't look much different. It will animate the same way, but you'll notice the wheels of the car I've kind of divided up into sections, a bit like spokes, which I know isn't very realistic for car wheels, but I'm just going to show you how a particular technique works here. So what we're going to do, the reason I've divided them into spokes is because I'm going to try and give the idea of a wheel that is rotating and moving, and that's difficult to do with a solid black wheel, so I thought the spokes might illustrate that better. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to click on my front wheel object there, okay, and you'll notice that in the properties bar at the bottom I have an option that says rotate. So I've clicked on the first frame, rotate, and I'm going to go clockwise, and then I can choose how many times I want the wheel to rotate. Now if you do it too many times it will look silly, so you might just want to experiment with this. I think I'm going to try it 3 times. I'm then going to click on back wheel, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want that rotating clockwise. Actually no, it would go, the wheel would be moving anti-clockwise, wouldn't it? So we'll need to change both of them to counterclockwise if we want realistic movement. So we'll go back to the front wheel and just change that. Okay, and then if we run it now, what you can see is that the wheels of the car do actually spin as they move around. Now this isn't a very smooth animation, and the effect is slightly spoiled, but you could use rotation in all sorts of different ways, and it's a very useful and straightforward feature. It just makes this animation a little bit more realistic. So there's a couple of things that I've tried to do to improve the realism. We'll forget the quality of the drawing. I've managed to get the road moving, and I've started it off the screen one way and moved it off the screen the other way, and that needs to go from right to left. Then the car is moving left to right with the wheels spinning underneath it counterclockwise, and just by tweaking the movement and combining tweens, and notice I've used motion tweens, I haven't had to use any shape tweens for that. Just by tweaking the way I've been using my shape tweens and the positioning of my objects and the way I've drawn them, I've been able to make an animation that's a little bit more sophisticated. So why don't you try combining this effect with some of the others? Quite an amusing little effect you could do would be to perhaps create rolling eyes or something like that as part of your face. Animating a car is a good way to practice it, and you could see if you could produce something like this. As an extension to this, what you could do is perhaps put some clouds flying or moving slowly in the sky above, and perhaps another layer with houses and a background to make it look a little bit more interesting. But that now shows you how to animate in a slightly more sophisticated way using motion tweening and using a rotate tool to make the car's wheels spin. Good luck when you try your own, and have fun and try and be creative.